How many children do you think that DHS basically lost and didn't have track of during the 4 years of the Biden administration that were admitted into the United States?
The reports vary, but as of the last number that we were made aware of was over 325,000 children that went unaccounted for.
325,000 children are not accounted for. So my colleagues on the other side don't want to speak about this hearing. They want nothing to do with this hearing, all right? Why? Because of the failure, and one of the greatest failures in American history of the Biden administration, I believe, was in not keeping track of children. And it wasn't like the folks that sit on the other side of this aisle weren't made aware by people sitting on this side of the aisle that it was happening. And, you know, they failed to do anything or speak out against really this atrocity that was happening to the children that were coming through the border. So this hearing is about the enrichment of certain, NGOs and their part in this tragedy. But also one thing that we haven't talked about is really, not only did this administration enrich a lot of these NGOs, and I'm not painting them all the same. I'm Catholic, all right? So, and I'm a really good friend of my Archbishop in Miami, all right? We have dinner and all that. So I know the great work that they do, but I know there's also bad apples in there. But also the billions of dollars that flowed to the Mexican cartels through human trafficking. And all of it, and you heard, this is not the first time you're going to hear me say it, was done on purpose. Because you can't be that stupid. You can't be that dumb. And so the Biden administration lost track of 300,000 people, children, all right? Probably lost track of millions of other people, migrants, in the United States as they were being trafficked all around. Some indentured servants, the children indentured servants, and even worse, in sex trade, all done on purpose. That has to be one of the biggest scandals in American history. And that's why my colleagues on the other side are running for the hills. But you can run, but you can't hide, and you can't justify the inexcusable. And it's not like we didn't tell them. And it wasn't like I wasn't here for 4 years telling them, hey, this is happening, and it's done on purpose. And a lot of my colleagues here were doing the same thing, and they just ran away. And now they're trying to say, well, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about what we're talking about today. And so what we're trying to, bring to light is we want to make sure this never happens again. And yeah, we need to bring it to light right now because it wasn't going to be brought to light under the Biden administration. All right, and make sure that it never happens again. And I thank God that we have President Trump in office who has controlled the border. And so the cartels aren't getting richer by the minute using human trafficking, and that our children, those children are not being exploited. And so, again, what can we do to make sure this never happens again, Ms. Hopper?
Thank you for your question. I actually had compiled a couple of policy recommendations. Now, there are more than what that I can provide, but first of all, we need to initiate forensic audits of all ORR contracts over $100 million and potentially suspend funding until completed, along with implementing full clawback provisions for unspent funds and mandate independent federal oversight, standardized tracking, and thorough home studies for UAC placements.
Thank you, and I hope that we as a committee can take those recommendations and put them into legislation, and I hope it would be a bipartisan effort, because what's happening to those children is definitely a crime. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields
Point
back.
of order, Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order.
Thank you. I ask unanimous consent to include into the record this Republican press release from this committee saying that Catholic Charities and the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is in fact under investigation.
Without objection, it will be admitted. Chair now recognizes
Representative Carlos Giménez, Republican Florida, raised alarm over what he described as a catastrophic failure by the Biden administration to track migrant children entering the United States. Citing reports that over 325,000 minors went unaccounted for during the administration's 4 years, he accused the White House of ignoring repeated warnings from lawmakers on his side of the aisle. Giménez argued that this negligence was not accidental, alleging it was part of a deliberate pattern that facilitated human trafficking and enriched both certain non-governmental organizations and Mexican cartels. While acknowledging his Catholic faith and the positive work done by many within the Church, he stressed that some individuals and organizations had acted improperly, benefiting financially from the crisis. He claimed that billions of dollars had flowed to criminal networks through trafficking operations, with children exploited for labor and sexual purposes. According to Giménez, these actions represented one of the largest scandals in American history, prompting members of the opposing party to avoid public discussion on the matter. He emphasized the need to ensure such events never happen again, advocating for immediate reforms. Policy recommendations included initiating forensic audits of all Office of Refugee Resettlement contracts over $100 million, suspending funding until audits are complete, instituting clawback provisions for unspent funds, and implementing independent federal oversight with standardized tracking and thorough home studies for unaccompanied minor placements. The session concluded with a move to enter into the record a press release from the committee noting that Catholic Charities and the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops are under investigation in connection with these concerns. Giménez expressed hope for bipartisan cooperation to address what he called a crime against children and to prevent any recurrence.